I'm Nannette Nocon. In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest is Marissa Dreibelbis, and she is a toy maker for the Little Stuff Shop, and you'll hear more about it at our next show. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. I am privileged today to have my guest as Marissa Dreibelbis, and she is the co-owner of the Little Stuff Shop.
Hi, it's nice to be here today.
I am so excited. I'm excited about what you make, and it's always interesting to learn about unique ways to have a business.
Yeah.
And so let's start with your background. I know that you'd mentioned to me that your business partner, Laura, and you went to school together.
Yes, we both went to the Rochester Institute of Technology here in New York, and we both ended up in very different fields, but came together to make a very profitable business. Her major was in industrial design with an interest in toy design, and my major was in illustration with an interest in children's book illustration. And so by kind of bringing those two families together, we were able to come up with the Little Stuff Shop. And we've been bouncing off ideas off of each other for a very long time. And I've learned a lot from her in terms of how to make templates and the best way to put toys together. And she's gotten ideas from me. I do a lot of drawing, and I like to draw out my plans before I do anything, and I love doing all the detail work and making them look pretty. And so so between the two of us, we kind of make a nice team.
So you could look at a picture, draw a picture, and then create a three-dimensional
toy out of it. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Now, prior to making the toys at the Little Stuff Shop, you also had some experience with children, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and what you learned from it.
Well, college is wonderful, and I loved every minute of it. But when you graduate and you move on into the real world, finding something in your niche is not always the easiest thing. And so for both Laura and myself, our go-to was working with children. So we both became nannies for families in the areas where we lived. And it was actually a really great experience because I was able to really learn about what children are interested in and the types of toys that they go to play with for imaginary play. And one of the biggest things that I have always loved is children's artwork. So watching them draw in their imaginations, nothing is exactly the way it's supposed to be. I love, like orange skies and green people, and, they really are the most fantastic artists that there are on the planet.
Now, did you know how to sew when you were little? When did you learn how to sew?
Actually, I used to drag my mom's sewing machine out of the closet and just fiddle with it when I was little. And I loved actually taking my clothes and kind of adding to them a little. So I used to do that. And it actually wasn't until I met Laura at college, we became roommates during our third year of college. We became roommates, and she had her own sewing machine and she was really into it, and we decorated our apartment and made our own curtains and whatnot. And so she was the one who really kind of taught me the ropes on sewing. I had a basic idea, but after that it was always just really intriguing. So I started taking sewing classes as electives at RIT. And
I didn't know you could take sewing classes at RIT.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a wonderful teacher, and he was our quilting teacher, and his he always wanted us to do more instead of just do patchwork. He always said, add to it. So we'd always do, little, and it was great because with my field of illustration, I was like, I'm going to draw a picture with fabric. And so, we just started kind of playing around with that idea. And, eventually we started making things that were more developed, more interesting. Quilts that had, you know, some kind of like oceanscape or something on it, you know? So
So how does that work? Like when you were did you think about having a business plan with Laura and saying, okay, we're going to start this business, or did you start making toys and then said, gee, this is really popular, let's do something about it? What happened first? Tell me about the evolution of starting a business.
well, in beginning it, you know, it was just kind of for fun. It was just a hobby.
Okay.
And then it was a great outlet for us. I mean, you know, you come home and, you know, it's kind of, this was before we had kids, you know, and, you know, just something to do with your hands. And so that's what it started out as. And then started making little stuffed animals for friends who had kids, and then all of them were like, oh, these are so great, you should try selling them at a craft fair or something. So we started doing that.
Oh, okay.
And so we started out doing craft fairs, and then people were like, oh, well, how do we get in touch with you? Where's your website? What's your company name? And we were like, oh my goodness. So then it really progressed from there.
So you don't really mass produce, is that right? You make specialized.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. A lot of our stuff is one of a kind.
Yes.
Especially our drawings to life. Those are definitely one of a kind. Those are specifically made for the kids who drew the pictures.
I see.
And then we have our in-house designs, which are really great because a lot of people like that whole one of a kind, I have the only one kind of feel.
Right, right.
And so when we do make them, we get so excited about ideas that we never really go back and recreate. We just move on to the next idea.
Nice.
And it seems like each idea gets a little bit more complicated, a little bit more exciting. So,
So actually, let's talk about that. Is this? Tell me about this green.
this is one of our little cuddly fish. We did
fish, okay.
make what we called a school of fish, and we had them in all different colors, and none of the patterns on them were exactly the same.
I see.
We had little girl fish, little boy fish, and then some that were a little bit more of a unisex for people who didn't know what kind of baby. A lot of people who don't really want to know what their baby is.
So it makes for a nice baby gift.
It does.
So this is your own creation. Like, do you have an
Yes.
example of somebody drew something that you made, maybe?
Yes, here is. I didn't bring the drawing, but this is one of our little flower guys, and this is actually one of Laura's creations.
Oh, neat.
He was
Look at
drawn and then turned into a little flower.
Ah, cool. That's neat.
Little garden guy.
So that's neat, actually. So that's wonderful. The kids can do one-dimensional drawing, and then it could be
Yes.
3D, and that's really fun.
Yes.
That's great. So in terms of the name of your business, the little stuff shop. So obviously seeing this makes me think that's how you came up with the name, but you also make some bigger stuffed animals.
Oh
or
yes,
toys.
we make, the biggest animal that we make right now are our 5-foot long body pillows.
Oh.
And we've made whales and dinosaurs and fish, like big. We have one big manta ray.
I see.
And so I mean we've come up with all kinds of, but those are our biggest toy that we make right now, are those. And they are quite the task because you're going from one end to the other and you're really working to get the proportions correct. But the way that we came up with the name of the store was we had, obviously we make stuffed toys, but there's only 2 of us. We're little. And so we're just a very little shop, and we're only online. So, you know, we haven't really outsourced to any of the stores around the area, any of the little boutiques or anything. So it's pretty much just us in our homes, and we just work out of home, and that's the way that it's always been. So we thought that would be a perfect little name.
Yeah, that's cool. So how does that work? Like, you have children of your own, right?
Yes, I have a daughter, and she has a daughter as well.
See. So that could be fun for them.
Oh, they have a blast. Actually, her daughter's already started sewing. Oh yeah, she sends me pictures every now and then. There's something posted like, look at what Eva did. She made this little guy. So yeah, they're really getting into it. My daughter is 4, and she's just loves cutting fabric. She loves the feel of the fabric. She loves going to the fabric store with me and just like, you know, she's like,
Nice,
oh,
very
mommy,
tactile.
this one's fuzzy. I love this one.
Oh, nice.
So,
So then, if we're actually for a lifestyle decision, it makes it wonderful that you stay home and make the,
oh, yes.
so that you don't have to get a babysitter or pay for daycare. So,
Well, we have been very lucky in that when school started, you know, I have kind of that gap of time now where I can really focus
I see.
on my orders. But it's, you know, it's one of those things where economically it just makes sense. You know, if my husband, God bless him, has been, you know, the breadwinner of our family and is just very supportive and just such a wonderful man, and allows me to stay home and work from home. And, you know, this is the way I've always wanted to make my living, was doing art. And so I get to do that, and I get to surround my daughter with it. And so it just, and if I were to go to work and then come home and do this, and, you know, it'd be, you know, what's the point really in this economy? You're just kind of handing over your paycheck once you're.
Sure, and you don't have the quality of life that you have now.
Exactly.
So I think that's great. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you in the show to talk about unique ways to make a living. And this,
yeah.
I think, is a unique way to do that. You know, you've got a really cool business that
Yeah.
you do out of home, and then you engage your daughter in the process, which is really wonderful. So now I have, and I'll hopefully be showing the picture of Yum and Yuck puppets you've made for me.
Yes.
Some Yum and Yuck puppets. I had done this book, What's Up with Yuck, which many of my audience has seen in the past. And so they're little finger puppets, and I wanted them to come alive. My brother gave me your name and said, oh, Marissa can make you some stuffed toys. And I've been wanting to have little dolls made of them. So it was really perfect that he introduced me to you via email, actually. So how do people get to know about you? I mean, you talked about the fairs, you know, the different ones that you've done. Any other way? How do people find you?
Well, I will say we first got really involved in this whole Drawings to Life program with Wendy Tao, who runs Child's Own Studio. And she's an online softie maker just like us, but she's been doing this for a while, this children's drawings and then turning them into toys. And my cousin's wife, actually, she contacted me and was like, I just saw this website and it's great, you should do it. And I contacted Wendy, and Wendy was like, well, you can advertise on my website because I have an overload of customers and, you know, I just don't have the time to help everybody. So she actually asked quite a few softie makers to advertise on her website, and that's our main source of contact with people. But once we started getting popular through her website, we had then at that point set up our own website, our blog, and we also have a Facebook page that has all of our information on it. So what we did is we then took all of our stuff and we made this huge kind of visual attraction online, and we had, you know, our friends online on Facebook and everything told their friends, and their friends told. So it's a lot of word of mouth.
Right, and social media really work to your advantage.
Oh, yes.
So it's a great time to be alive, right?
It is. It is. Well, I mean, it's wonderful because, you know, you reach people that you would never. We have actually now, we're very excited to be international. We've actually had orders in England and Poland, and and they're just like growing and growing. I mean, you never even, when I got that first email that said, I'm in Poland, I was like, oh my goodness.
That's
what is the shipping?
So really there's a lot of creative ways to make money, to do something you love, right?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I mean, once you find that little niche, you just go with it. And it's just communication and networking and getting your name out there. And, you know, once we started doing all of that, we really amped up our craft fair table. So, you know, you can see pictures of work that we've done, and you can, you know, visit us at this site, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it's been really a whirlwind.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Marissa, we're just going to take a quick break.
Okay.
I'm talking with Marissa Dreibelbis, and I'm probably mispronouncing your name. Forgive me. She is the co-owner of the little stuff shop making these cute little things. We'll be right back.
Time was, kids did what came naturally, spending free time running through the grass, exploring streams. But times have changed. Today's indoor kids spend more than 7 hours in front of electronic media. That's why National Wildlife Federation created the Be Out There movement. Outdoor play improves kids' health, body, mind, and spirit. It helps them stay fit, enhances creativity, and could even make them better students. There's a reason they call it the great outdoors. Learn more at beoutthere.org.
Hello, and we're back. I'm Nannette Nocon, and we're talking with Marissa Dreibelbis and her little stuff shop, which she owned with Laura Pelletier. And I'm very excited to have her at the show because she's come up with her partner a way to make money out of something that they really enjoy doing and have the quality of life. And now they've gone international. Yes. So I think that's really cool. Now, the business ebbs and flow. What strategies do you use in order to try to keep the business going? Or maybe sometimes it's just too much. I mean,
well, actually, we have been very lucky in the way that everything has been kind of very even keel at this point. Whenever we're very, very busy, the incoming orders seem to slow down. And then once we're slowing down, the orders just start coming back in again. So it's like the universe almost knows they need orders now.
Yes.
And so it's always been very, it's always just run very smoothly. And I do a lot of the softie making now because Laura's actually back in school again because she wants to kind of continue education. And so what we do is we divide orders up in accordance with who has the time to do what.
I see.
And it's really great because we can still keep our regular lives flowing while doing all of the softie making.
I see.
And so we've been able to actually handle it really well. We're prepared. We're prepared for that day where we're both like, oh my goodness, what do we do?
And then you tell people to advertise in your website.
Yes. Yes. Well, what we've been saying to people is the great thing about the community of softie makers that we're in is that we can say, well, this person is actually looking for some orders, so you can go see them, and they'd be more than willing to help you.
I see.
And a lot of what our customers end up doing is they even let us know, okay, well, we are looking for a quote, and we have asked like 3 or 4 softie makers for a quote, and then they go with what works best for them. And I think that it's always been fairly good business, just trying to, keep it fair between softie makers but there's plenty to go around and we all do really, really well.
And then there's the more of you, the more business there is. Some people are afraid of
Exactly.
competition, but if you're good, people will come to you.
Well, yeah, and the biggest part for us is just customer satisfaction. We try, we're still small enough. I think in the business world, we're still kind of at infancy. But for our company, we're so small and we have such great amount of time to make our customers satisfied. It's not like we rush, and then, you get what you get. We like to keep in constant contact with our customers, and we send them pictures and say, this is what we've done. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Oh, well, could you actually just change this little thing? Oh, that's not a problem at all. And that's our biggest thing, is just meeting customer satisfaction.
And that's a great business model, truly. A lot of business comes from client satisfaction, customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
If that's high on the list, they'll have repeat business and they'll talk about you. Now, tell me about the cycle of the business. How long when did you start the business? What year?
Well, actually, we officially became the Little Stuff Shop in, I want to say, maybe December
Of
last
2011.
year.
Okay.
Of 2011. And, or I'm sorry, 2010.
10,
It's
okay,
2012.
10, okay.
So we were officially the Little Stuff Shop, but we didn't really get into the softie making for drawings to dolls until around, I want to say, March of this year.
I see. Okay.
So,
Great.
you
Comes
know,
alive from there.
yeah,
Okay.
it
I
really
see.
just, you know, it did. And it was nice because we were prepared for it.
Yes.
And that's the big thing, is being prepared for what you're getting yourself into. You know, we had our in-house designs that we had been working on, and it gave us a chance to just kind of test the waters and go to craft fairs and see what people were really interested in and what they were looking for and the price tag that they were looking for, and getting a real feel
Right.
for what people want out of their toys.
So in terms of startup cost, I mean, you probably each had a sewing machine already to begin with,
Yes.
and so that's probably the biggest expense, isn't it?
Yes, the biggest expense is making sure that you have all of the materials that are necessary. Sewing machine, making sure that you have, for me right now, it's storage space for fabric.
Okay.
So I'm just like, well, I guess we need to get another piece of furniture. But, you know, making, you know, our dining room, which is now actually my studio.
Oh, I see.
You know, we clear it out for company,
see.
but it takes about a day and a half. But no, we have, you know, just making sure that I have the storage in the space, and, you know, making sure that, you know, it's a nice clean area. And, you know, there are things that you don't even think about. You know, you're like, oh, I have my sewing machine, I have my fabric. Now I need every single color of the rainbow and thread. I need every single color of embroidery thread known to man. So you're sitting there at the fabric store going, okay, this one, this one, this one. But I mean, in the end, when you look at it, you're spending a majority of your money on the fabric, on the material.
Sure.
And, you know, that's, you know, that's the soul. That's what you're getting. That is the major part of our business, is, you know, getting the fabric to create the toy.
Sure.
And the prices of fabric really do range. You know, we have something like this, which is just a soft flannel, which, you know, you can get for a pretty reasonable price. And when the sales are on,
Yeah, I gotta shop for
always
those.
keep an idea,
Get a
an eye out for
coupons.
those coupons. But then you come to something that's more like fun fur, which is something that's like hair. Like if you want to replicate hair or fur or something like that, then your prices are really starting to go up.
I see.
So you have to really kind of make sure that you're timing your order correctly. So if someone says, you know, I want this big fuzzy gorilla, you're like, okay, that's going to be pricey. So let's make sure we schedule you for around this time, because I know there's a sale at this point, and
okay.
I can get your materials for a reasonable fee.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's great.
So-
That's wonderful. And sometimes probably you could also, I mean, I'm sure you might need a teeny portion of a fabric that's a
Yes.
certain size, so you could hopefully use them for your own creations as well.
Oh, yes. Well, what we always try to do, which is very important, is when you're buying the fabric, you have to keep in mind, okay, well, this is going to be for the eyes. So really, out of this 1/4 yard of fabric, I'm only going to need this much. So when you're charging people for fabric, you have to keep that in mind.
I see. You can charge them for the whole fabric.
Exactly. You can't say, okay, I paid $2.99 for this piece of fabric. You're not going to charge them $2.99. You're going to charge them what you are using of that $2.99. So when you're doing your quotes, you really got to take a lot into account. And that's one of the things that after the first few orders, I was just like, okay, so this we need to be a little more accurate on. And that's one of the things when you're running your own company, you know, at first you're a little bit tipsy about it, but then you start to get a little more sure-footed. And, you know, we were able to really break down orders and be like, okay, this is exactly what we need for this. This is exactly what we need for that. And so when we started, we kind of started ourselves on a low ball. So we said to people, you know, okay, so for the first 2 weeks of our shop, we're going to be doing lower prices because we're still trying to get a feel for how much things are going to cost, how much time you're spending making a toy, how much material you're going to need, et cetera, et cetera. And so once over those 2 weeks, when we were really starting to get into things, we were able to say, okay, So it takes, about 12 hours to make this doll. And then we only needed this much of the material. And so now we have like 3 basic sizes, which are our most popular sizes that we work with. And we can say for sure, this is this price, this is this price, this is this price.
I got it. Okay, well, that's great. So you were learning how to calibrate the pricing for the
yes.
different dolls that you make. That's fantastic. It sounds like you're having a ball doing what
Oh my
you do.
God, it's such a good time.
Yeah.
We're having a fantastic time. I mean, I was a little nervous at first, but it's one of those things where it almost becomes innate. Like you were always kind of prepared to do this, you just didn't know it.
Right, right.
So yeah, so we're really starting to get, really involved with it, and we get excited. Each order we get is, just as exciting as the next and a little more.
Do you at this time have a vision for the business in terms of size, of volume, of revenue, do you have like, oh, this is my perfect world, or is what you were doing now your perfect world?
Well, I would say right now is my perfect world. I mean, I think I would love to have, 1 or 2 little boutiques that, sell, that would sell just, like 3 or 4 toys. And we just like rotate them out. And if things picked up then we would, the thing is since it's just the 2 of us right now, we're balancing it really well, but once things start to get a little fast, we're like, oh my gosh, do we have to hire someone? Do we have to do this? And we're not ready for that yet.
Sure.
So, so I would say for right now, we're really happy with the way things are going. We both make a very, decent income. And, like it's just those things like in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, so this takes care of the groceries, this takes care of the diapers, this takes care,
Sure.
So just little things that add up in the month. And so, so we're able to keep it very nice. I would say, ask me again in a year, and then we'll see where we are.
Sure, but it sounds like a perfect balance for your family, especially your daughters,
yes.
just being young and all that. So
yeah,
that's
and
really
that's
good.
our primary goal. And one that we are working with is balancing being mom and wife and, just trying to make sure that everything is everybody's getting the attention they need, and you're still getting your work done on time, and
do you and Laura, like, who does the business part of it, like the analysis of the books, the cash flows? Do you each do that, or?
Well, what we've come to find is each of us have strengths, and each of us has weaknesses, and right now, since Laura's going back to school, I have a little more time to be in charge of finances. So when it comes to offering people quotes, I'm usually the one to do the quotes and let them know this, that, and the other thing. And then what I do is then I divide up the orders. I say, hey, Laura, how's it going? Can you do an order? And she'll be like, oh, yes, I can do one, but then, I'll have to take a week and then I can come back. And so we work along that basis. But Laura is really great because she has been very helpful in keeping our websites floating, updating all the time, making sure that the pictures are up. She'll be like, hey, Marissa, you need to put that picture up on the website. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll get to it. So, but yeah, so the communication between us, it's almost, we've known each other for so long. She's like my sister. And so it's almost like one of us is calling each other, and as soon as we see the name, we're like, oh, I know why you're calling.
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been a joy having you here, a lot of fun. And thank you for bringing some of the examples of what you guys make. I wish you the very best, you and Laura. And hopefully we'll touch base again in the future and see how you're up to.
Oh, I look forward to it. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And thank you, our viewers, for watching us today. My guest is Marissa Dreibelbis, and my name is Nannette Nocon. Until next time, it's about money.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you have any questions for It's About Money, please email Nannette at nnocon@aol.com.